Many of us remember what it was like to be a student. It's a time when the mind and heart open to new ideas, and we marvel at new discoveries. What is it like to be a student at Zaytuna College? You walk through a campus that seems hidden from the world, an oasis of natural beauty. You learn with teachers who nurture both the heart and mind. You come together in study and worship, breaking bread with kindred spirits and enjoying the fruits of the Zaytuna garden. Zaytuna is different. It's a special place. It merges the best of the East and West and prepares young minds for what's ahead. They'll be ready to greet the world with tools for any field of study without the burden of debt. This is your gift, and it is transformational. When you give to Zaytuna College, you help revive an intellectual legacy and a tradition of spiritual excellence. Most importantly, you remember the glorious promise from our Creator. Those who give of their wealth in the way of God are like grain that sprouts 7 ears with 100 kernels in each ear. And God gives manifold increase to whom He will. And He is all-embracing, all-knowing.
What a lovely environment for pursuing academic excellence. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I would like to welcome you today. We appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday to be here with us to learn about Zaytuna College. Zaytuna College has the distinction of being the first accredited Muslim liberal arts college in the US. As a trustee at the Santa Clara County Board of Education and in my work with nonprofits, one of my major priorities is building a more inclusive society, and I'm delighted to be here today. Before we start our program, I would like to remind everyone we plan to answer questions at the end of our discussion, so please do place your questions in chat and we will get to them as time permits. We have with us Noman Munif, head of Zaytuna's institutional advancement. Noman bhai, thank you so much for being here to educate us all about Zaytuna College. Welcome, and would you please introduce yourself?
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Raeena Baji, thank you for hosting today's session. Al-Ali Bhai, Salman, thank you for helping organize this event. I'm excited to be able to be here and hopefully introduce Zaytuna College to the PAC launch community. So again, as Raeena Baji mentioned, my name is Noman. I head up our institutional advancement aspects of the college. So working with supporters to be able to build out our endowment, work on capital projects, essentially figure out ways that we can generate revenue to be able to support the growth of the college. I was born in Karachi, moved to America in the 1980s with my family. I actually spent about 20 years working in Silicon Valley at places like Google and Microsoft and a handful of startups. About a year ago, I joined Zaytuna full-time to be able to head up this role. Zaytuna has been very close to my heart, fortunate to be able to study in the 1990s when it used to be called Zaytuna Institute, which was focused primarily on educating young adults, evening programs, learning Arabic, learning your basic fiqh of what it is to be a Muslim. I was fortunate to be able to take a marriage in Islam class with the time was my fiance, now my wife for 20 plus years. So have been close to the college, and the college has grown quite a lot, and we kind of talk a little about the history, but fortunate to kind of see that growth and be a volunteer and supporter, and now working at the college full time. Does that help a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So I understand you also have a brief presentation.
Yeah, let me just bring that up and hopefully, inshallah, we can be able to screen share. Okay. Please tell me when you can see that okay on your screen.
Yes, that's perfect.
Okay, perfect. So I'll start with the mission of Zaytuna College. I think sometimes people have misnomers of what is the college, what isn't the college. So I'll read this for those that are here. Zaytuna College aims to educate and prepare morally committed professionals, intellectually and spiritual leaders who are grounded in the Islamic scholarly tradition and conversant with cultural currents and critical ideas sharing modern society. So the key things for me there is it really is trying to be able to create these balanced intellectuals, professionals, leaders for our community that are both balanced in the Islamic tradition and very relevant in our current cultural norms and the current cultural challenges that we're facing. So that's an important part of who the college is. We're located in the hills of Berkeley. The college was founded in 2009. We pride ourselves on being the first accredited, meaning that you have the ability to sort of have your credits, your degrees respected by all Western universities. So, I'll talk a little bit about sort of where our students are, but it's the same accrediting process that UC Berkeley goes through, Stanford goes through, other large universities on the West Coast of the United States. But our school is focused on being a liberal arts and an Islamic science college. So it is not a seminary, nothing wrong with being a seminary, but the focus of our education is really the traditional Western sciences that would come through the liberal arts, and we'll talk a little about that, and then also the Islamic sciences. We offer both a bachelor's degree and a master's degree at the college today, and inshallah we have goals to expand on those programs. And one of the commitments that hopefully that introduction video talked about, one of our commitments, and I think this is something that very much aligns with our Islamic tradition, is we have a commitment for our students to graduate with no debt. So they are able to either, all through support of our donors, people like yourself that may be on this call, or hopefully supporters down the road, they're able to, if they qualify for zakat-based aid based on need, we're able to sort of give them scholarships. We also have donors that have supported just merit-based scholarships for exceptional students. And then obviously we have for families that are able to sort of pay their tuition, but the goal is for all of our students to be able to graduate with no debt. We are the only accredited university, not Muslim, but just any university in America that has that commitment, which I think is one of those things that anybody that has gone through education and graduated, and the burden of that financial debt that they have takes many years, and you have to make certain life decisions. So hopefully we're trying to be able to do something different, and all of that is through the grace of Allah and the support of our donors that make that possible for us. Does that help a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. So this was a great initiative, especially in the late 2000s, when the broader environment was not very conducive to such an effort. And there were many misconceptions and misunderstandings about the Muslim community. So could you please elaborate a little bit about the mission of the college, and how what progress have you been able to make towards it?
Yeah, so maybe I'll take a little step back and give you a little bit of a history of the college and kind of where it originated and where it started. As I mentioned, for myself personally, that I can relate to was somebody that was fortunate in my time in the mid-1990s, being in high school and college. Zaytuna Institute was founded in the 1990s in Hayward in California. The focus of the programs there were really for young adults, young professionals, students to be able to learn very fundamental aspects of their faith, learning Arabic, learning what does it mean to be a Muslim, the fiqh aspects, doing things like studying theology and just what are our beliefs. So being a college and being a place of knowledge that was very sort of structured in that sense. And frankly, we're quite behind as a Muslim community. We were one of the we're one of the few, in some ways, we're the only Islamic university today. But if you compare us to, for example, the Hindus, I believe, have over 12 institutions. We've got the Buddhists have several universities in the United States and in sort of the western part of the world. So we're playing a bit of catch up. But in 2009, we rented a facility in Berkeley. In 2012, we were actually able to sort of purchase our first building to some degree in Berkeley as well, just a couple blocks from UC Berkeley. And then 2017, we purchased an 11-acre property, which I consider sort of show you. Here's a quick picture of the description of the property. So this is on top of the Berkeley Hills, and you can take a look at our property there. And this is where the majority of our classes take place today. So in that time period, in about 2014, we actually received accreditation. And I'll share a couple quick facts of we've had over 100 students graduate. We have roughly about 75 to 80 students on campus today. We've been able to grow our endowment up to about $10 million and want to be able to sort of continue to be able to grow that. But fortunate that the college has made quite a lot of progress in since 2009, its founding, but obviously the institute goes prior to that.
Fantastic. So I was interested to know, does a typical student's course of study look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I actually brought up in here just a summary of our curriculum,
fantastic.
and you can take a look at that curriculum here. I apologize for the small font, but I wanted to try to be able to summarize. So it's a balance of the liberal arts and as I mentioned, the Islamic sciences. So you'll see the students, they go through about 6 years of Arabic in their 4-year degree, but they also study the trivium, which is the principles of the liberal arts. So you study grammar, you study logic, you study rhetoric. And then you can take a look at some of the Islamic aspects of the courses that they'll go through. So they'll study Islamic law, purification and prayer. They'll study introduction to the Quran. They'll go through theology. So it really is this balanced aspect where as they graduate, they are rooted in their Islamic tradition, but then they also have learned many of sort of the things that you would learn at a Western college as well, right? So outside of the trivium, they're taking astronomy, they're taking geometry, so the traditional arithmetic sort of math classes as well. And so this is a quick summary. Anybody that has, sort of wants to be able to learn more, we have a variety of information on our website that you can be able to check out. It goes through in detail the different types of classes that the students are going through.
Yes, it's an excellent website. I had the opportunity to go through it. So can you describe the liberal arts program and describe its importance and relevancy in today's world?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the liberal arts is actually a tradition that goes back to education from the Greeks thousands of years, right? And the liberal arts is really founded on trying to be able to give a balanced, in some ways, the ability for students to be critical thinkers, for students to be able to have a desire for knowledge and problem solving. So they learn, the fundamentals, as I mentioned, part of the trivium, grammar. They learn logic. They learn rhetoric, so the art of persuasion, the art of trying to be able to problem solve. So many Western universities are rooted in liberal arts. Some are still liberal arts colleges. Others offer courses that are focused in those, but they've added, I would say, more vocational sort of degrees as well over time, right? So, but really for us, the liberal arts balances quite well with the Islamic sciences. And as one of our founders, Sheikh Hamza Yousuf, was going through and sort of building our curriculum with many of our other advisors and faculty, there was just these sciences, the liberal arts sciences, were studied by the great names of our intellectual sort of thought in the Islamic tradition. So we're trying to revive that and really try to be able to sort of have this, again, we always try to be able to say, we're not a seminary, we're a liberal arts college first, but that is focused on sort of the balance with an Islamic education as well. So hopefully, as you sort of see here, in the fall semester, they'll go through the trivium, the grammar parts, they'll go through prophetic biography of the Prophet ﷺ, they'll study the Quran, they're going through Arabic in each one of those years. So hopefully by the time that they graduate, inshallah, that they have that firm rooted ability to be able to critically think and hopefully be able to go on into a variety of different sort of fields.
Yeah, this looks like an excellent program. So what do students typically do after they graduate from Zaytuna? What professions are open to students after they graduate?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I have a sort of a quick visual representation. So as I mentioned, we're not a seminary, but there's probably 15 to 20% of our students go on to work in further Islamic knowledge. So they may want to be able to become imams, they may want to be able to become scholars, etc. But the majority of our graduates actually go on into a variety of other traditional career paths. So I would say about 20 to 25% of our students go on to law school. And one of our graduates from a few years ago is actually working in the Justice Department in Manhattan. We just had a graduate from from Zaytuna that went on to Georgetown Law School, just graduated a couple months ago. This last year, we actually had 2 students graduate from medical schools in the United States. So one medical school in Texas, another medical school in New York. So I would say 15% probably of our students are coming in and want to be able to pursue degrees in medicine, and Zaytuna is preparing them for that. The science classes and those sorts of things, sometimes they will have to be able to supplement. So we're fortunate to be able to have UC Berkeley right next door. Those students are able to take classes through the UC Extension and complete their science requirements prior to the MCAT. But we're fortunate that students are going on into many of the traditional fields that they would at any other sort of university. So medicine, law. We just have a student that gave khutbah on campus a couple of weeks ago that graduated a few years ago and now is a data scientist working in Silicon Valley. So you've got, in some ways, the goal of Zaytuna is to be able to create these grounded, critical thinkers that can be able to take those skills and apply them into almost any aspects of a career that they would want to be able to sort of pursue. And so the fruits of that have already been sort of laid with the graduates that we've had, and inshallah we'll continue to be able to do that.
So basically all professions that any typical liberal arts college degree holder will have access to. Zaytuna students have that also.
Exactly, right. So it's there might be certain vocations that people want to be able to pursue that they may need to be able to take some classes outside. So for example, the data scientist that we have that recently graduated was able to take certain classes in boot camps after he graduated, and has now been able to obviously be successful working in Silicon Valley. So there may be certain, if you want to be able to work in a career in finance, you may need to be able to sort of supplement some of the things that you're learning, but hopefully the core of who you are makes you that much of a better data scientist, accountant, doctor, lawyer, et cetera. That's really the goal of what we're trying to be able to sort of establish.
So do you offer online classes at all?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of our initiatives over the next 6 months, and in that video, there was a screenshot that we showed in a room that was being under construction. And that room is primarily, it's a online studio that we're building, and it's probably about 30 days away from being completed. And our goal is to be able to record and hold classes that we can be able to make available online for folks all around the world. We already do a good amount of education. If you go to Zaytuna's YouTube channel, there is content that we're regularly updating and making available. We also, as a part of the college, have a book club that comes leads monthly. They actually have a session of that today. And that book club is designed to be able to hopefully educate our folks that are looking to be able to sort of learn. But the online education programs are going to be focused on many of the things that the communities have asked for. So your Fard Ain, right? The basics of what it means to be a Muslim and go through a certificate program for that. Be able to study things like Islamic law or Islamic finance. So we have some of those classes in the works that we will look to be able to sort of publish and make available inshallah in the next 6 months. So we definitely want to be able to make classes available online. Our model is still one that is a traditional on-campus education for the 4-year or 2-year degree, but we would like to be able to supplement that with certain courses that folks that are interested in learning can be able to educate themselves and be able to attend those online classes. So be on the lookout for that. If the folks are interested, there's a place that you can be able to sign up on our website down at the bottom in the About Us section that allows you to add yourself to our mailing list. And inshallah, we always will update folks on as those courses become available.
And that sounds excellent, because people like me would be very interested in that, who already have degrees. But
yeah,
would
same,
like to
same,
tomorrow.
for myself.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I would like to be able to participate in those as well.
So how has Zaytuna College interacted with Pakistan? And what are your future plans regarding that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I will openly say that without the support of Pakistanis here in the U.S. and in the West and those in Pakistan, Zaytuna would not exist today. Obviously, we're here by the du'as and the support of individuals and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's blessings. But I would say the Pakistani community is probably the biggest supporters from a financial standpoint of the college, and we're very, very indebted to them as a community to be able to rise to the call that Zaytuna has been doing from a fundraising standpoint and support the scholarships that I mentioned, et cetera. So we really wouldn't be here without their financial support. Outside of that, we actually have a few formal relationships. So, for example, there's Al-Qadr University in Pakistan, a bit outside of Lahore. Sheikh Hamza is one of their advisors and guiding them on content and curriculum, and just they were a new university that sort of started. So trying to be able to take some of the learnings that we've had establishing our university and being able to pass that knowledge along. I think for us longer term, Zaytuna, as I mentioned earlier, our belief is there should be not just multiple Zaytuna locations, there should be multiple Islamic universities that are in the West and other parts of the world. So the future to potentially be able to partner with some of those universities is our goal. Also, I would say, it's not lastly, but about 4 years ago, we were able to start accepting international students because we were able to sort of offer them F1 visas for them to be able to come. So we have several students that are coming from Pakistan, along with other parts of the world. So we've got students coming from Europe, we've got students coming from Asia, from the Arab world, but we definitely have a handful of students that we've already had enroll from Pakistan, and we look to be able to sort of continue that, because obviously they're amazingly talented individuals that are in the country, and we want to be able to be a source for education for them that want to be able to come here and learn and potentially go back, but also potentially that want to be able to stay and contribute in the United States, right? So there are a lot of ties to the Pakistani community and Zaytuna, and Zaytuna really wouldn't be where it is without their support.
Okay. Yeah, help with the visas is really very valuable. So that's great.
Especially in our master's program, that's one of our focuses, to try to be able to bring more and more students internationally, because they've done their undergraduate work, and it's that higher course of learning that they may want to be able to sort of pursue, and we're looking for the best and the brightest of those students, and we don't want to be restricted just to what's around us. We'd like to be able to open that up to anywhere coming from anywhere in the world.
And so there was something about you having partnerships with institutions like Harvard, and you have a program with them.
Yeah, that's a great question. So let me just I will bring up a quick summary of so Zaytuna itself is quite well regarded in sort of the academic world, and one example of that, just this past year, we were invited by Harvard to participate in a dual program, a joint program, showcasing our students with the Harvard students. And so we were invited to their campus. We were there for a weekend in March. Our students shared their thesis papers and research. The Harvard students presented theirs from their Near Eastern Studies department. And the program was such a success that the Harvard professors were really encouraging us to be able to send our students towards Harvard for master's programs, PhD programs. We've already had a handful of students enroll at Harvard and have be accepted at Harvard with Zaytuna undergraduate degrees. So we're fortunate in that sense. Harvard is actually coming to Zaytuna next year in early 2024. And we'd like to be able to do this as a annual program with somebody as distinguished as Harvard. We have relationships with other universities as well. And I pardon the error on my slide here, but as I mentioned earlier, we're right next door to UC Berkeley. We have an MOU, understanding with UC Berkeley as well, that our students are given library cards to the UC campus. They're able to study there. They're able to get access to those books and research. And then obviously, as I mentioned, we've had several students take concurrent classes through the UC system. So we're fortunate that the education that our students are receiving is being well received by the sort of the most prestigious universities in the world. One thing that I'll maybe just highlight real quickly is some of our graduates. People ask, like, what are they doing? Where are they going? I kind of talked a little bit about sort of where they're going from maybe a professional standpoint, but I just wanted to at least sort of showcase the students where these degrees from Zaytuna are being accepted in very reputable, prestigious universities in the world. So, for example, we have a student at Oxford that is starting a PhD program. He actually just started, I think, just a few weeks ago. We have students at Harvard. We just had a graduate from Georgetown Law School, University of Chicago. We've had several students go there. University of Texas Southwestern, that was one of our students at graduate medical school. So just a sample of the respect of the Zaytuna degree, because I think that's something that sometimes parents, if not students, are concerned with. What's my child going to do with this degree from Zaytuna? What can, how can it be utilized in the real world? And hopefully, these names that I'm showcasing here, they're the best of the best. And so we're fortunate to be able to be that path for these students to be successful in their academic pursuits.
Okay, excellent. So my next question is, what are some of the challenges that Zaytuna is seeking to address? And can you elaborate on those challenges?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think this question probably for the folks with the Buck Launch community, many of them are in working at startups. Many of them are founders. Zaytuna is a startup. It's a startup university, and so we're facing many of the same challenges that you all are probably facing in your ventures, right? I can say from my own startup experience, just as you mentioned, your question about online learning, that is a big thing that people ask, like, hey, can I just take classes online? Can I maybe do a one-year program? But for us, it's hard to be able to stay focused on this 4-year degree and this 2-year master's degree if we try to be able to do all those sorts of things. So focus is an important one. Resources is an important one. Funding is another important one, right? I mean, anybody that's run a startup and worked for a startup, funding is a challenge. So that's a lot of my job, is to try to be able to align the revenue and the funding that we would need to be able to support the growth that we want. And so that's an important challenge for us, is how do we grow and grow in a sustainable manner that we can be able to achieve the tasks that we want. If you take a look at any of these universities, they actually, like, I believe Harvard started with about 9 or 12 students in 300 years ago when it started. Zaytuna started with about that same number back in 2009. So we were actually, I think, slightly bigger. So inshallah, we don't know where we're going to be 300 years from now, but our goal and our intention and our niyyah is to be that beacon of knowledge and represent Islam in the world, but specifically, obviously, in America. So hopefully that helps answer some of the questions about challenge.
Yes, absolutely. So for individuals who want to support the mission, how do they get involved?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think there's definitely a few ways that people can be able to get involved and support the college, right? Number one, if people have students, whether it's themselves or their children, relatives, etc., go to zaytuna.edu, take a look at our admissions area. We actually have admissions opening up on August 15th. So early admissions and application portions open up just in about 2 weeks from now. So it's great to be able to open that net and take a look at what we're teaching, take a look at that process, and inshallah apply. Right, we're integrated into the Common App college application process, so it's just like any other sort of university you'd be applying to. So that's there. Number two, we always look for support, right? And from a financial standpoint, and one of the programs that I didn't get a chance to talk a little bit about, but I will, is we have a program called 12,000 Strong. And let me just bring up a quick summary of on our website. The 12,000 Strong program is there's a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ that says 12,000 as a number will not be defeated if those hearts are aligned. And so the goal of this initiative is building a group of, inshallah, 12,000 monthly supporters, regardless of the dollar amount. You're giving $1 a month, $2 a month, $10 a month, $30 a month. But our goal is to be able to have people essentially support the college. And this is Sadaqah Jariyah for them, because you're building an institution of Islamic knowledge, you're educating the young generation. But this is a way that anybody can get involved and support the college from a financial standpoint. So regardless of your financial means, join the 12,000 Strong program. You also get access to our book club from an online education learning standpoint. So that's one of the benefits of joining this program. But then obviously beyond this, for those that want to be able to potentially support the college in a greater means, we're obviously looking for support, and whether those are scholarships or other programs that somebody would look to be able to support. And then lastly, and it's probably the most important one, is we need everybody's du'as, right? The college would not be here without the du'as of our community. And so if you're able to apply, great, right? So you may or may not be able to be in the phase where you can come and get an education. Financially, if you're able to support, please, we would love that. But then last and probably most important that all of us can be able to do is keep the college in your du'as and pray for our success, because this really is an institution that is built by us and for us, right? So we don't take financial support from the federal government or the state government. It is purely funded, I would say 99.99% by Muslims all over the world, but primarily those in the West, in Europe, in Canada, and primarily in the US. So hopefully that helps in some ways of how people can be able to get involved.
Yes, absolutely. So could you tell us a little bit about the college's achievements that you consider?
So let me bring up, I think I might have shared this a little bit earlier, but I'll go back to it. These are just some high level sort of summaries of the college and kind of what we've achieved over the last few years. So alhamdulillah, as I mentioned, we have 2 campuses in the city of Berkeley. The campuses themselves, we probably have a value of almost close to $50 million. The 11-acre property that we have on the top of the Berkeley Hills, where the majority of the classes are taking place. We have built up our endowment to be roughly about $10 million. Our goal is to be able to have this be about $25 million in the next 2 years, and inshallah in 5 years be about $100 million, where the majority of the operating aspects of the college can be covered through that endowment. Now, keep in mind, the endowments of many of these other universities that I've talked about are in the billions of dollars. I believe Harvard's endowment is 50 or 60 billion. We're not looking to be Harvard anytime soon, but we would like to be able to be in a way that we can be self-sustaining from the endowment and the revenue that we generate from tuition. And then that monthly giving program that I mentioned, the combination of those 3, inshallah, in the next few years, we can be able to sort of support the growth of the college. But we're fortunate to be able to have a faculty of about 20 individuals, and these are mashallah, brilliant minds from all over the world. Some have roots in Pakistan, some have roots in Turkey, the Arab world. Some are born and raised in the West, right? So we're fortunate in that sense that the faculty has grown quite a lot. As I mentioned, we're probably, this slide is probably misrepresented. We're about 80 some odd students on campus today. Just this past May, when we had our graduating class, we graduated our 100th student. And so we've got about 100 and some odd graduates that have gone through the university over the last several years. And so those are definitely milestones that we are excited to have accomplished to this point, but we're just sort of scratching the surface, right? We're trying to be able to build this institution that could last, inshallah, in perpetuity, but something that is going to last for not just our children's generation, but their children's and children's generations, that will be a source of knowledge and education for the future ummah.
Inshallah, it sounds very exciting. So we have a question about how do you ensure that education is not biased towards one strand of Islam and is open and beneficial to all Muslims?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think hopefully I'll maybe talk to this a little bit about some of the curriculum that I showcased. I think we pride ourselves on being very normative, Sunni in the education that we teach, and very traditional scholarship. So if anybody has any sort of specific questions of the text, they can also access our course catalog and take a look at the types of books that our students are studying, who are those writers and intellectuals, Imam Ghazali and such. So we really try to be able to be that balanced source, but we also, in some ways, like for example, while we're the majority of I believe all of our faculty they're not all Muslim. We do have some Christian faculty members. For example, we have a Franciscan monk who you'll see. He teaches one of our logic classes and one of our theology classes from a non-Muslim standpoint. But we really do try to be able to teach that balanced education. And so if people have any sort of specific questions, they're more than welcome to be able to sort of look into our curriculum. But I would say Zaytuna really is trying to be, our goal is to be able to focus on middle school grades, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade first, and license that out to schools that are out in the communities that could be able to leverage that curriculum. So that's something that is a big project of ours. And probably the last couple of things is our goal would be able to sort of continue to be able to sort of build out our campus. That one other project that we're working on, and I didn't mention this earlier, but I'll bring it up here. Our students go through what we call the Sunnah sports as far as experiential learning. So they go through swimming, archery, horseback riding, jiu-jitsu. And so each of their 4 years of their undergraduate degree, they focus on one of these sports. As the Prophet ﷺ, emphasized these particular activities, we wanted to be able to instill that within our students as well. So one project that we're just about to, inshallah, try to be able to close is a property about 10 minutes from our campus today. That's 18 acres, and we would like to be able to build a Sunnah sports center, not just for our students, but inshallah, the community at large that could be able to participate in many of these activities there. So those are a handful of what I would say is like larger projects that we'd like to be able to sort of do. So online learning, the K through 12 curriculum, can you continue to be able to grow our student body? And maybe the last that I would say is we need more universities like Zaytuna. We may need more Zaytunas in the United States or other parts of the world. So just like as, for example, the Catholics have in here in the US, there are several St. Mary's colleges. There are several Loyola colleges. We may be able to explore down the road of a Zaytuna in the East Coast or in the Midwest. Once we really focus on what we've done right and can be able to replicate that in some of those other areas. So those are goals that we would have, and they may not happen in 10 years. They may happen in 10 years, right? It sort of is Allah's will. And the support of the community and us to be able to actually accomplish the work. So not easy, but ones that we want to be able to set sort of high goals, just like as many of the folks that are probably doing at their companies in the Pankaj community.
Well, you've established a great model, and now it'll be easier for others even to replicate it all over the world. Before we move to audience questions, would you like to talk about any closing comments or any other things you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I think I hopefully covered the majority of the things. I would say is it's great that we've had so many people come in and participate in this program today. The aspects of the college really hopefully to dispel some of the misnomers, right? We are a liberal arts college first. We are not a seminary that is only producing imams and you know, people that want to be chaplaincy. We have some of our community that does that, but really it's studying the Western traditions with a balance of our Islamic sciences, and we really need the community support, right? So as I mentioned, our admissions period is going to open up on August 15th. They can go to zaytuna.edu and go to the admissions portion of our site and get more information on what are the requirements to be able to apply for becoming a student at the college. From a you know, financial support standpoint, you know, if I would encourage anybody that's on this call, please join our 12,000 strong program, right? You don't need to make a large donation, but just as the Prophet ﷺ said, and Allah, you know, sort of advises us, small continuous acts are the ones that are the most greatly rewarded, right? So this is a monthly giving program that people can be able to join and participate regardless of the dollar amount. And then you also get the benefits of being able to get access to our book club and knowledge content. You also get a discount at our bookstore. So there's a variety of benefits that come with joining that 12,000 strong program. So, and then obviously lastly, we would love, you know, people's du'as and support, and, you know, help us, right? Like this is an effort that really is trying to be able to establish and be that beacon for Islam in the West and primarily in America, that hopefully has an influence all over the world, right? And you know, one thing that we can talk a little bit about is that beacon of what we try to be able to do. Just a couple months ago, Hamza was speaking at the Vatican representing Muslims about topics of something as relevant as AI for this particular group. I'm sure there are AI startups that are part of some of the groups within Pak Launch, and who's speaking on behalf of Muslims. They had a Jewish theologian, they had a Catholic theologian, the head of Microsoft AI was there. But Zaytuna is speaking on behalf of Muslims, and so, you know, that's an important part, is the efforts that the community is able to sort of support us. We're hopefully trying to be able to have a balanced approach, and we need to be able to hopefully educate and create the next level of our leaders and thought leaders, not just from Islamic sciences and working in that field, but hopefully as they are going and working in Silicon Valley, working in hospitals, working in courts and wherever else, or just being really well-grounded parents for the future generation of Muslims.
Yes, our community definitely needs a stronger voice. So this has been a great discussion, and I learned a lot from this conversation. Thank you, Noman Bhai, for providing such a deep insight into Zaytuna College. I will now hand it over to Syed Salman Qadri Bhai for audience questions. Thank you so much.
Raeena, thank you for helping lead the conversation.
Of course, absolutely. It's a pleasure. Khuda Hafiz.
Khuda Hafiz. I don't know if Salman, if you're there, or if you want me to be able to jump in, I can take some of these questions. I think I see them. So let me just, why don't I jump in and, oh, there's Salman.
Oh, hey. Thank you so much, Jazakallah khair, Brother Noman, for what you've presented today. It was definitely very informational. And also thank you so much, Sister Raeena, for your great questions and all the work that you also do in the field of education. So we have several questions here. Looks like there's a lot of interest in this topic. So the first question here is, how many total students does Zaytuna have, and what is the selection criteria?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, the total student body is roughly about 80, 85-ish students today. We actually just admitted our largest undergraduate class of 20, I believe 27 students in this incoming freshman class that we have. So as I said, we're a little bit less than 100 students today. We would look to continue to be able to sort of double that in the next few years. There was a second part to your question, just to make sure I cover that.
Yeah, well, so what's the selection criteria?
Yeah, so the selection criteria, as any other sort of sort of college admissions process, we take a look at their GPAs. We take a look at their standardized test scores, although the standardized test scores are not required, but it's something that helps us be able to sort of evaluate a candidate. We take a look at their achievements outside of the classroom and what are they doing from a service standpoint? What are they doing for working within their community? We take a look at them as a holistic student, right? And that's an important part for us. So the academic measures have only continued to be able to grow and grow. So the average accepted student and our acceptance rate was roughly about 30% of our students were accepted last year that applied. They've got over 4.0 GPAs, they've got great SAT scores. So those are pretty standard, but really we're trying to be able to take a look at what's the student looking to be able to sort of do and how do they fit into the curriculum that we have and how do they align to what their goals are going to be. So it's very similar to probably any of the other sort of universities. And if you go through our website, you could take a look at sort of some of those standardized examples that we have, but it's very similar to other universities, but unique in the sense of what are they going to do with this degree and how do they help in some ways advance the cause of the Ummah. That's an important part for us as well.
Great, thank you. And what percentage of the students are foreign students?
Yeah, I would say today, probably about 20% of our students are foreign students, and we try to be able to keep it around that ratio. There's no hard rules for us, but we're fortunate to be able to offer the international visas. So that's made a big difference for us, being able to do that over the last few years. And we definitely encourage students from overseas to be able to apply. And I think that's a really important part for us is the first few classes that came in were all primarily from the United States. And while that's great, we realized that as we've expanded it globally, the quality of our students has grown tremendously, right? Because you're getting the best and the brightest that are coming from all over the world. So yeah, it's about 20% today, and we would probably continue to maintain that. But we definitely encourage people to be able to apply from overseas.
Great, thank you. And are non-Muslims also given admission to the college?
That's a great question. So there's no hard fastened rule that non-Muslims couldn't be admitted to the college. We haven't, like I said, we actually have several non-Muslim professors that are at the college, and they're teaching certain subjects, mostly related to the trivium and the liberal arts. But we haven't had any students that we thought would be a great addition to the college that wasn't a Muslim today. We've got, as I said, our admissions rate is about 30%. So there's no reason why we wouldn't. We just haven't had the interest to be able to admit somebody as far as what their goals were and why they'd want to be able to come and study at Zaytuna. And that doesn't mean that would change over time. But we've been fortunate to be able to have great Muslim students come in, but as I mentioned, it's not exclusive in the sense that the professors are only Muslim. We've got professors that are of different denominations that are also teaching our students as well.
Okay, thank you. Another question we have is, why only a liberal arts degree? Are there any kind of other thoughts for the future of Zaytuna?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. So I would say a few things, right? I think the liberal arts education just balances really well with the traditional Islamic sciences. It was taught at, for centuries, our greatest ulama and scholars essentially studied the liberal arts. And so that tradition just aligns really well to be able to create these grounded, balanced students as they graduate. But there's other aspects of the college that we would like to be able to expand. So as I mentioned earlier, many students that come to Zaytuna go on to law school, and they've done really well at very prestigious law schools. We would love to be able to open our own law school. Sheikh Hamza speaks of this fondly, and would like to be able to, as one of the goals that we would have is potentially open a law school on campus and be a part of something that we're able to sort of have that as a part of our graduate program. There are other aspects of the college that we're expanding. So our master's program, we just brought on a dual PhD professor from Turkey that is focused on building out an Islamic finance curriculum for us. And so the Islamic finance curriculum would be a part of our undergraduate studies, but also somebody could be able to get a master's degree specific in Islamic finance. There are aspects that we would look to be able to sort of expand. I think, over time, we would, it could be interesting to be able to explore, could we do something like a medical school and have that in as a part of Zaytuna? We've got many supporters are doctors, that many students want to be able to go and pursue medicine. Obviously, there's just restrictions on the types of science classes and laboratories and all those sorts of things that would be required, but there's no reason for us to be able to sort of not pursue those things. They're probably just not eminent right in the near term. If you take a look at any of these great universities, they generally establish themselves as an undergraduate degree first, and then they expanded. So we started the same way. We had only an undergraduate degree, then we started a master's program about 5 years ago, and now we're looking to be able to establish potentially a law school and continue down that path of other pursuits of knowledge. But we also need to be able to do that with a bit of focus.
Okay, thank you. And what's the process of for Zaytuna students to take classes at UC Berkeley? I think you mentioned UC Berkeley Extension. Maybe you could talk a bit more about that.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we have an MOU with UC Berkeley. As I mentioned earlier, the students were able to sort of study on the UC Berkeley campus, get access to their libraries, be able to do research there. And then the UC Extension also allows them to be able to concurrently take classes. So many of the students that potentially are taking some of those science classes that we may not offer, biology, chemistry, et cetera, they're able to take those at the UC campus. They're able to take some of those classes online. So that is not just part of the MOU, but also just access that they could be able to do as students that are local to the campus. So we're fortunate that they can be able to do that. We're walking distance from the UC Berkeley campus, and we would hope to be able to continue to be able to expand that relationship over time.
Great. So suppose there's a question here around, if somebody wants to join Zaytuna with the upcoming application process, do you have any advice for any prospective students that are interested in joining Zaytuna in terms of the application process?
Yeah, I would say a few things. One, reach out to us, right? Like, express interest, talk to our admissions team. They are very open to be able to answer questions and want to be able to hopefully explain what Zaytuna is and what it isn't, right? So that's an important part. Reach out, make yourself available. We don't have thousands and thousands of applications. While we would love to be able to do that, we have hundreds of applications, so we really can review them one by one and talk to an individual student and really understand who they are and make sure that they're putting their best foot forward. So reach out to us, build a personal connection, and we're going to respond. Number two, come and interact with the campus if possible, right? If you have, for example, on August 26th, we have something that we're calling Zaytuna Day on campus. It's an all-day program that is open for prospective students, for supporters, for donors, for anybody that wants to just be able to learn what is the Zaytuna experience. So we'll have a few mock classroom experience where professors will be teaching short classes. We'll have an archery exhibit. We'll have people can be able to participate in planting things in our permaculture garden. So it's really open to anybody that would want to be able to interact with the campus. And I realize not everybody can be able to get to Berkeley, but interestingly, we have people coming from overseas just to be able to participate in this day. And we're looking to be able to do this probably twice a year. So we're going to do this in the fall, and we're going to do this in the spring as well. So participate in Zaytuna Day as well. And you can also, I would say thirdly, is you have access to a lot of our content, a lot of the things that we make available. People can be able to sort of hopefully learn what our students go through, and that might also help them just prepare for what is it. So there's several student testimonials about what they study, why they studied it, why they chose to come to Zaytuna. And I think that helps a lot for students to be able to sort of prepare, is this the right place for myself? And so I would say at least those three things, right? Take a look, go learn those things, reach out to us, come on campus, and you'll really get a sense of what the college is and what the college isn't.
All right, thank you. I think we're almost done. We have 1 minute left. There is one question that's important that if you just very, very quickly just answer that. They're asking about the cost. They're like, hey, it's kind of like $30,000, $43,000 per year. Is it possible to make more affordable? Or maybe you could speak a bit more about the cover, the no zero debt thing, just very briefly though.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, students from our cost, I mean, it's just expensive to be able to educate students today, right? We actually, it probably costs us closer to $100,000 per student to be able to educate them, but the support of our donors are able to sort of offset that. But the point that I mentioned earlier is our students are able to graduate with no debt. So cost shouldn't be a barrier for anybody that's looking to be able to apply to Zaytuna. You're either going to be eligible for financial support from the fact that we have zakat available to be able to sort of fund the student scholarships. You'll able to be able to qualify for merit-based aid through merit scholarships. So cost should not be a prohibitive factor for anybody that is interested in a degree at Zaytuna that is qualified. We will figure out a way for them to be able to get educated. And the fact that we don't give student loans, students are not required to be able to take those loans. You really should not worry about the financial aspects of it. Frankly, if you take a look at what our education costs today for these tuitions, it's probably half of what other small liberal arts colleges charge. For example, there's St. Mary's College about 15 minutes away from us. Their tuition is $60,000 to $70,000 a year, and it's a similar education environment. It's a Catholic environment, but they're literally in the hills, not too far from us. So we still think we're a bargain. But then at the end of the day, like I said, your students are going to come in, they don't have to take on that burden. We will figure out a way for them to be able to, based on their financial situation, be able to sort of make sure that college degree is affordable for them.
All right, thank you so much, Brother Noman.